Hi everyone! Welcome to this tutorial where we are going to make a cake, a baking mini game. So when we hit start, we're going to be welcomed in to bake a cake, and then we're going to have our different ingredients that we can click and drag. We're going to have our recipe, so our recipe here is 1 butter and 2 flour, and our variables here to just double check that we're putting in the right ones. So I'm going to put in a flour, you can see our flour has gone up, another flour, then we're going to put in a butter, and then we've baked our cake. And of course, if we put in the wrong ingredients, like a bit of poison, we've ruined the cake. Or if we put in the incorrect ingredients, like we've got 1 flour, 1 butter, but let's put in a second butter in there, we've also ruined the cake. So, follow along, and I'll show you how to make it. These are the images that I have for the project. I have my BG intro image, I have my BG table, so these two are the backgrounds, and then I have my separate smaller images for the bowl, the butter, the cake, the flour, and the poison. Keep in mind that these background tables are 1920 by 1080, which is the exact size of the Renpy game, and these smaller images would be kind of, their own size clipped to how they are, so it wouldn't be as big as the larger ones. So let's go ahead and create a new project. This is going to be the cake minigame. 1920 by 1080, the same as our images. We can keep this defaulted, and we'll go ahead and create. Okay, we want to open up the images folder, and we're going to put in our images. Okay, so I've pasted these into the images folder now. And then we're going to open up the script file, and we're going to begin. Inside of here, we just want to get rid of everything inside of the start label and everything above. Now that we have our blank project, the first thing we are going to do is up at the very top, type in init Python. So what we're doing here is we're initializing Python. We're going to start writing some code. So you want to say def for define, drag placed, drags, comma, space, drop. And if not drop, then return. We're going to store.draggable, drags 0 dot drag underscore name, and then we're going to do store dot droppable equals drop dot drag dot underscore name, and then we're going to return true with a capital T. This is all the coding that we're going to be doing. Basically what we're doing is we're going to have images that we're going to pick up and drop, and we need to track where they're being dropped and if they are draggable in the first place. Inside label start, we're going to have our variables. The variables we are going to have, we're going to define them with default. Going to have flour, default butter, and default poison. Set them all to 0 because right now our bowl will not have any ingredients. These are the 3 ingredients that we're going to put in. Feel free to put in whatever ingredients you want. We have seen BG intro, so this is going to welcome us to the first part of our game. Welcome to the cake game. Okay, go ahead and save this. So what we're going to do is we're going to call cake mini for minigame and then variable. So this is another label we're going to make underneath this. Label cake minivar. Make sure to put the semicolon there. What we're going to do here is we're going to check what has been dragged into the bowl. But first, we're going to create these draggable images. So we're going to call a screen where we're going to have set drag images. And make sure to return out of here. So we're going to put more in here later, but for now we're just going to define everything. So we're going to create our screen next. So define your screen, set drag images. And inside of here, we're going to add our background of the table, .png. And in here, we're just going to put the first part, which is a bunch of text telling the player what the recipe is to bake this cake. And if they do this correctly, they'll be able to bake the cake. If they do it incorrectly, they will ruin the cake. Okay, so we have recipe. So this is just for the text. The text is going to say cake recipe. The position is going to be the specific one that I've chosen, but you can change these. These are just the X is going to be 70 and the Y is going to be 600. We're going to put it in bold so it's nice and easy to read. And for the color, I have picked this specific color. This needs to be inside of quotes for it to work, and then have the little hash symbol in here. There we go. So that's it there. It's just a little bit dark and purple. Once you put in color and put this, you can actually click on this and then you can swap the color wheel to whichever you like. It's pretty fun, I like it. So that is the sign, that the text that just says cake recipe. We're going to copy this. We're going to jump down twice and paste. And we're going to put in, overwrite cake recipe and put in butter times 1, because this is going to be part of our recipe now. The X can stay the same. The Y is going to move to 650. That'll move it underneath. We're going to copy the butter. We're going to paste it again, but this time we want to put in flour. And we want it to be times 2. We want it to be a little bit below this, so we're going to put it at 700. Copy everything, make sure that the Y is 600, 650, 700, and we're done. The next piece of text that we need is to show the contents of the bowl. Meaning, what have we put into the bowl already? So we can track, you know, did we put 5 butters in there? Did we put 7 flour in there? We want to make sure, because we also need to check, did the player put in the right amounts? So we're going to do this written out once and then we can copy and paste it. So first part of the ingredients is the flour. So flour equals, now we have defined it actually. Up here we've got our variable flour and we're going to call it here by doing open square brackets and just write flour. So that's going to say flour equals whatever the contents. Right now it's 0. Put semicolon after this. We're going to put it at a certain position. The position I want is going to be 1600 by 600 because I want it all the way on the far right. We're going to have bold equal true, or just bold true, and we're going to keep the color that we have here. So I'm just going to copy and paste this down here. And there we go. That's the flour. But of course we have 2 others, so copy this. We're going to paste it here. Instead of flour, we're going to put butter. And inside here as well, we want to call the variable butter. And we want it to be a little bit lower. So instead of 600, it's 650 on the Y. So change the text name, the text variable, and the position of the Y. Copy that butter and drop it 1 more below. This is the last one. And now we're putting in poison. So poison in the text, poison in the variable, And again, we're going to add and make this to 700. Just a quick note on the text lines. I've forgotten colons here and here. My bad. And then we can hit save. And now when we run it, we have welcome to the cake game. Let's make a cake background. And when we click in, we've got the table background along with the cake recipe for 1 butter, 2 flour. And then we have all the different variables with the flour, the butter, and the poison. But we don't have any of our images to drag and drop into a bowl. So let's go ahead and make those. So now that we're finished with all of the text, we're going to start with the images. So we're going to create a drag group because we want these images to be draggable. So drag group, and then under that, we're going to declare the first draggable object. And the drag underscore name in quotes is going to be bowl. So obviously this is going to be the image of the bowl where we're going to be able to throw all of the ingredients into it. I have a set position here of the X pause being 550 and the Y pause being 600. We're going to add a child, this kind of like a child node, and it's going to be of the image. So that's just attaching the image onto this object. And then we're going to finally use the draggable false, droppable, true. Okay, so these are the two that we have declared all the way up here that we're going to store. So with the bowl, we want it to stay in one position and we want to drag ingredients into it. So the bowl being droppable is false. We don't want to move this bowl anywhere, but we do want to drop things into it. So droppable is true. We're going to create the ingredients now, and you'll notice there'll be a difference here. So we're going to have drag name. The first one we're going to do is the poison. Poison, that's what it's called. We have the X pause as 300 and the Y pause as 100. The child, so the image we're going to attach is the poison.png. And this time we are going to say that draggable is true. We're going to be able to drag this all across the map. The droppable is false. We are not going to be able to drop anything into poison. If you wanted to get more technical, you can. Let me try and think of if you were making a more in-depth cooking game and say you were mixing all the dry ingredients and all the wet ingredients, you can try and do something like this. You can mess around with these. For now, we'll just keep it really simple, but these are the type of things that you can play around with and see. So dragged, these are two new things we're going to add in here. Drag underscore placed. This is calling our define function here because we need to keep track of where this object is placed because we want to be able to track that poison has gone into the bowl. So that's what this is for. Very important to have. And then as this is kind of a nice to have, drag underscore raise, we're going to put as true. What this does is every time we click the image to drag it, it's going to raise it to the top part of the layer, meaning it'll always be the image on top of all images. I will show you an example of what you do if you leave this to false. So we are done with our first ingredient. Let's copy and paste to make our next ingredient so we don't have to keep writing everything down. The next thing we are going to do is flour. So let's remove the drag name, call it flour. The X position we are going to change to 750. The Y position we are going to change to 120. The image we are going to change to flour.png, and we're going to keep everything else the same. Go ahead and copy that Paste it again for the last ingredient, the butter. Going to have butter. The X position is going to be 1250. The Y position is 150. The image we are going to attach is the butter image. And just to show with the drag raise, I'm going to put it to false just to show you what that's like. But again, keep these four the same for your own project. This is what the project looks like now. We have our bowl. If I click on this bowl and move around, I cannot drag this bowl, but I can drag the poison, I can drag the flour, and I can drag the butter. Now remember the raised feature. I'm dragging the flour and it's going above the butter and the poison. I'm dragging the poison going above the flour and the butter. But when I drag the butter, it goes behind. Let's go back here and put this back to true so that our butter is always raised up. Okay, scroll up to the top of the project. What we're going to do is now set that when we drag the image and drop it into the bowl, that something is going to happen. So let's go into our label cake minigame variable. So we've called the screen, we have all of our images, and we're going to set some parameters here. So if draggable is equal to flour, we're going to add, I'm just putting this in a comment, add a point to flour. So meaning that the bowl has one flour. To call a variable, you're going to use the $ space flour, and we're going to plus equals to 1, meaning that whatever it has now, add 1 to it. We're going to have elif draggable is equal to butter. We're going to do the same and add a point to the butter. Butter plus equal to 1. And then elif draggable is equal to poison $ poison is plus equal to 1. Okay. Now to check these, what we can say is we'll have a text saying the draggable. So whatever was dragged was put into the droppable. And one thing I'm noticing here as well, that I've put drag here, but it is drags. I apologize. That is very important because we're pulling it from here, so it needs to be the same thing here. So let's hit save and open up our project. Now we have welcome to the cake game. We're able to drag our items, and when we drag and drop it in, the flour was put into the bowl. We can start it again. The poison was put into the bowl, and the butter was put into the bowl. As of now, these aren't updating, so we'll do some changes and we'll actually have a function where if you put in the wrong recipe, you mess up the cake. If you put in the correct one, you bake the right cake. So we don't need this anymore. We're just going to comment this out. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to have a check. So we're going to call cake check. This is going to check that the cake was created properly. So this is going to be a label. Pop it down here, label, cake check. We're going to have two images. One image of the final cake, which is going to equal our cake.png, and then one image of the ruined cake. Ruined cake. And it is, we're just going to put the poison in. I don't have any images of ruined cakes. So if this is how you define your ingredients here. So for me, in order to make this cake, the flour has to be, you have to put 2 bits of flour in there, and you have to put butter equals to 1. So 1 piece of butter. That is how you create the perfect cake. We're going to have the scene be the BG table. So that's the background is going to be the table, and we're going to show the final cake. So if they've put in the 2 flour and the 1 butter, we're going to show the correct cake. If you want to change the position, which I know I do because mine is off center a bit here, 600, 200, there's a quick way within a label to be able to show an image and then change the position of it. And we're going to have a piece of text that says, you baked a cake. Okay, so that's the correct condition. Otherwise, we're going to say if flour is greater than or equal to 3. Oh my gosh, my spelling's a bit off today. Elif, the flour is greater than or equal to 3, or the butter is greater than or equal to 2. So we need 1 butter. So if it's higher than 1, it's already incorrect. And we need 2 flours. If it's higher than 3, it's incorrect. If it's 3 or higher, it's incorrect. So we're going to have seen BG table, so we want the background of the table again, but we're going to show the ruined cake this time. Semicolon, because we want to change the positions, and the position I want for the ruined cake, because it is that small vial of poison, is 800, 200. And we're going to have a piece of text that says, you ruined the cake. Okay. Then finally, if you put any of the poison in, you've ruined the cake as well. So if poison is equal to 1, let's just copy this over because it's the same condition, or the same result, should I say, of the scene background being the table. You ruined the cake, and you have the image position right there. Then what we're going to say is else. If you haven't done any of this, so say at this point, you know, it's checking for the correct, but if you've just put 1 flour in, we want it to be able to go back so that you can put in more flour. So we need to have this else function at the end that says if you haven't met any of these conditions and you're still good to go to keep popping stuff in, we're going to put you right back into the cake mini variable. So you're going to go right back here where all the images are there and you're able to drag the butter and the poison and all of this stuff. Okay, so we're going to hit save. And we're going to open up our project. Full screen, baby. So we hit start here. Welcome to the cake game. Okay, so we're going to put 1 flour in here. We notice that our flour has gone up by 1. We'll put in a butter. We've got butter in with 1. So we need to put in the second flour. And there we go. We baked our cake. And we're back to the start. So let's go ahead and add 1 bit of poison. And we've ruined the cake. Let's start again. Let's put the incorrect amount. So let's put 2 flours. Oh, we need to do it a different way. Sorry. Let's put in 2 butters. There we go. We ruined the cake. So there you have it. That's how you create a drag and drop baking game in Renpy. This tutorial would work really well if you wanted to implement like a working part-time feature. Like I mentioned in my easy shop system in Renpy, if you click on work part-time, instead of just getting money randomly, you can be brought into this scene where you actually have to bake the cakes yourself. And for every cake you bake, now you get the money. Of course, you can have lots more ingredients than this. You can have ingredients that maybe drag and drop into each other to combine different things. So yeah, have a play around with it, enjoy it. If you like this video, give it a like and comment below. Let me know what you make. Thanks everyone.